Hey, everybody. Welcome back from Elkhart, Indiana, by the way. Boy, have we been traveling all over the country today or what? So now we're ready for part 2 of scaletrains.com. For those of you that didn't hear this morning, we have a wonderful relationship that started when Shane approached me and said, hey, can I have space at the train show? And I said, you absolutely could have space at the trade show. And that's how our relationship has gone ever since. So I really want to thank scaletrains.com, Shane, Holly, everybody down there for being our keystone sponsor. Thank you guys so much. And I know they've got a lot more they want to show you, so I'm going to immediately turn this right back over to Shane. So Shane, it's all yours, bud.
Well, thanks so much, John. It's great to be back with you again this afternoon. We certainly appreciate your hospitality. John, you're doing an awesome job. It's been a lot of fun to watch today and being behind the scenes here at Virtual Railfan. I want to thank them again for their hospitality. It's been a lot of fun to watch the crazy. A little bit different for us, right?
Yes, very different.
So, before we announce what our next all-new museum quality locomotive is, we've been taking some questions online, and Drayton's going to ask a few of those. We'll let folks kind of tune in here for a minute. We'll answer a couple questions, and then we'll jump into what the announcement is.
All right, Shane, so we've got a couple of questions through Facebook. Will you guys eventually do the Norfolk Southern Heritage ES44s?
That is definitely on the to-do list. We'll do 5 of them on the next announcement that we do, and then 5 more on the run after that. And one thing we are going to do on that, even though they're coming on 2 different production runs, we will hold the price for all 10 ES44 locomotives. So that is definitely happening sooner than later.
That's a question we get all the time. So NS Heritage units coming. What do we do with the pre-production models?
That's a great question. So we get 2 sets of pre-production models. One set stays with our team out in Southern California, our product development team, because there's often questions about paint schemes and that nature. Usually those models, after some period of time, they'll be shipped to us in Tennessee, and they'll be rated for parts for product support. And then we get a second set of samples. Normally the second set of samples is for marketing, and that's what travels with us to the trade shows, and they get beat up pretty good.
Yeah.
But one of the things we are doing with all of our deco samples is we're keeping one set of everything that we do. One of our goals is to do a floor-to-ceiling display case in our office in Tennessee and have all of our models on display. So hopefully that'll happen in the next year or so.
Yeah, excellent question. I'll advocate for us Kentucky guys. We'd love to see some R.J. Corman tunnel motors in the future. Is that a possibility?
Oh, if you saw our Facebook posts within the last week where we talked about short lines and secondhand owners, this is another one of those challenging ones. It seemed like everybody said if we could get close enough on the details, maybe 90% of the way there. Most people seem pretty happy with that. And so we're seriously talking about that, and Corman would be one of those that would be like that.
Yeah, so Shane, what is it about second and third and fourth hand owners that makes it challenging to do in tooling?
Well, if you go back to that Facebook post, we showed pictures. You had the opportunity to go up and be there for the Whizzer 40th anniversary SD40-2. And the challenge is, once you start getting away from as delivered, details change.
Yeah.
And sometimes the details are really difficult. Not difficult. We can do them, but they're expensive. For instance, on that SD40-2, normally the sand filler, of course, is on the end of the rear long hood on an EMD. And on that locomotive, they essentially took it off, put a plate, and moved it about halfway down the long hood. And unfortunately, we're not working in clay, right? We just can't take it off the top and plug it in the middle. That's a pretty serious tooling change. And what would have to happen there is we'd have to have a new end insert made, but that end insert would have to be made so we can do it with or without. Then we have to do another insert on the top of the locomotive to be able to do that hatch, right? Well, that tooling might cost, I'm taking a swag at it, maybe that's $5,000 to be able to do that.
Yeah.
That's the only locomotive out there with it.
Yeah.
And that makes it really tough to invest that kind of money. That locomotive has some really unique front ditch lights only on that particular locomotive, and then have to rerun the wires and to get them lit correctly and to tool that part. And it's got unique rear ditch lights. They're on the pilot, but in a different position than anything else that we've seen. And there's a couple of other detail parts. The problem is when you start putting all that together, we estimate on the Whizzer unit, for example, it might be $20,000 worth of tooling.
Yeah.
When you only sell a few hundred units, the economics come in,
Yeah.
and it makes it really tough. But a lot of folks said if we could get close enough, they would be interested, and that's probably a pretty strong possibility for doing something like the Corman tunnel motors.
So we're going to take a few more questions here on Facebook, but you're going to want to tune in next week on Tuesday evening. If you're not a member of the Scale Trains Modelers group on Facebook, go join that group. It's a great little community. It's an independently run community by some fellow model railroaders, and Shane's going to actually be hosting a live stream event with the admins of that group. So if you don't get your question answered here on today's live stream, Tuesday evening's live stream in that group, you'll be able to ask Shane pretty much anything. So a couple more questions here real quick. Would we ever consider doing the Norfolk Southern steam excursion tenders? We get asked a lot about our tenders. We've even got some behind us. What do you say to that, Shane?
Well, we have a list of literally hundreds of, probably over 1,000 different product suggestions, and that one's definitely on the list of possibilities. Just have to see what time holds.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Shane, I'm excited for our next all-new museum quality locomotive. You ready to unveil this thing?
I think we should. Let's not keep the suspense up any longer. So, when we launched our company, one of the things that we did is we wanted to really kind of plant a stake in the ground, and that's what the big blow turbine was for us. The 3-unit turbine. It's a big, it's like 20-something inches long. I think it's like 27 inches long with all 3 pieces.
Yeah.
And it was really a benchmark in the HO market with things like operating class lights and interior lights and the frog clank and the curved squeal. And since then, some of those features have become standard with models of the rivet counter level. So, as we looked at this new locomotive, of course, the tagline for museum quality is legendary locomotives. And we thought, well, let's go a different direction. A lot of folks thought we might be doing a steam locomotive. It's actually a diesel. A lot of folks thought we might do something Western flavored. It makes sense to do the U50C because it's got the right trucks. But we said, let's do something really different. And that's where we came up with this. We're going from big to small. Today, we unveil the EMD SDL 39 locomotive. And the SDL 39 is a really unique locomotive. There were only 10 built, 5 in 1969 and 5 in 1972. And Milwaukee Road went to EMD and said, hey, we have these branch lines in the upper Midwest, and we need something that can pull a long train, but it's got to be able to make the bridge limits and the rail limits for weight. And so what they came up with was essentially a 6-axle locomotive in a Jeep car body. So it's a 4-axle car body essentially. And so it's a 6-axle locomotive. It's really small, very unique, and a lot of great features.
Well, and this is a locomotive that has been often requested too, and it's a little bit of a misnomer. Like, a lot of modelers perceive that some of the companies in the industry don't really listen to their customers, but we do. Whenever we get requests in, we make a list, and the SDL 39 is probably one of the most requested models that we've gotten. So
yeah, the 39 really is, and here's why. If you're a Milwaukee modeler, it's one of those benchmark models. It's one that you're really going to want to have in your fleet. And we'll kind of walk through some of the features here. We'll start out with Milwaukee Road. You've got the first 5 units that were delivered. They would have been delivered with snow shields. And then, of course, Milwaukee had some pretty unique air horns, or E-bells, up on the front of the locomotive. And then the early units, if you look right up on the edge of the nose, and you'll notice on the edge of the cab, there's some special vents. Those are heating vents. All of them were delivered as non-dynamic brake, and they have all of the, of course, railroad, road number, era-specific features that you've become accustomed to, both in the rivet counter line and the museum quality line. What's going to differentiate this a little bit from the rivet counter line, of course, you've got interior lighting, you've got the control stand lighting, and actually we're going to go back and print the gauges. You'll actually be able to see the gauges when you look inside. You've got frog clank, you've got curved squeal, and we're adding a ton of lighting effects, right? We've done class lights, and of course these come with class lights that you can cycle between red, white, green, and off. There's now walkway lights, both front, rear, and on the fireman's side. Yeah. You've got ground lights on both sides of the cab. So a ton of different LEDs on this locomotive. Really neat. We'll see some footage here in just a little bit. And then you've got the later delivery Milwaukees. That's going to be right here. Here on the sample we did, there was one little error. This actually shows like the snow shields would have been removed. They actually were delivered without them. We'll get that corrected for production. Milwaukee came back and added a different type of E-bell on the roof. You've got the operating beacon, of course. They also added the winterization hatches on the second group of production. So a little bit of variation between the two. And then as we step down on the table here, you know, Drayton, Sioux Line was purchased in Milwaukee, of course, and then they were kind of short-lived in that time frame. So what Milwaukee did is, Sioux Line did is they came back and they did what we affectionately called bandits. And they were just paint outs of all the logos, and then Sioux came back and stenciled on the Sioux and put their road numbers on them. We're doing 3 different versions, three road numbers, and within the 3 road numbers, you're going to get some paint variations between all 3. One of the big things that Sioux did is they moved the bell. They did away with the E-bell and went to a traditional steel bell right behind the cab.
Yeah. And the E-bell, what's interesting about the Milwaukee E-bells is they actually were cassette tape. They put in a cassette tape player that would just go over and over and over and over again. It's a unique sound that you'll be able to hear on the Milwaukee units, but the bell, like Shane was saying, has been replaced and put behind the cab, so good feature to look out for.
Another thing too, and we'll take a little closer look here in a second when we get to the WCs. The Milwaukee is really known for their short fuel tanks, so these have short fuel tanks. They actually added, as we got into the later ones, there's coupler or knuckles holders on the front of the fuel tank on some, as well as the rear of the fuel tank. Then they added extension tanks. We'll see that here in a second. So a little later in life, we went to the SDL 39 went to Wisconsin Central, and a couple of different eras here, and a couple of different paint schemes. You got an early era, and that's differentiated by not having ditch lights. And you'll notice that we're doing 2 different paint schemes. You've got the early cream scheme and the later Deluxe Gold scheme, both with the beacons and, of course, the bells that have been moved back. And you'll notice some color variances in the handrails between the 2, and some other unique features as you take a look at both of those models. What's really unusual is on the ditch light versions, and in the product video you've got Drayton was able to get some real footage from another fellow YouTuber, and these really strobe really quickly back and forth, and that's captured on the model. And of course you've got once again the cream scheme, and you'll also notice that the lettering on the earlier scheme is very non-standard for Wisconsin Central, just like the prototype. And then you've got the Deluxe Gold scheme, and even little variances like early on they would have had maroon all-weather windows, then this one has the silver and this one has the black, so making sure we get into that road number specific detail again. And then moving on down, this is our first
international locomotive.
Well, outside of North America, we've done some Canadian units. This is actually, and I'm probably going to butcher the name, but I'm saying FAPAZA. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. I've heard some other people say FEPSA. I'm not quite sure, but this is a Chilean railroad, and very colorful, really neat. A couple of different variations in the paint schemes between the 2 road numbers, and probably the one thing that's going to stand out to everybody is you'll notice that the etched metal screens that go all the way around the windows, from the windshields to the cab sides, and that was a pretty special feature on those 2. You'll also notice that they moved the horn from the top of the cab back to the long hood, and actually put this really wide extension that helps it stand proud off of the long hood. And then you'll notice one of them has red bearing caps, one's got black bearing caps, and you'll notice some variations in the paint schemes on the nose. And then as I flip it around, one of the things too is here on the chain for the ratchet brake. The early ones you can see the chain, and then they came back and they added kind of a chain cover as protection for those 2.
Well, another thing that's neat about those units, and the same thing with the Wisconsin Central versions with ditch lights, is not only are you going to be able to cycle through your class lights, but you're also going to have ditch lights. So the amount of LEDs in these locomotives are truly spectacular. When you actually see these locomotives, we're going to go live to Ed Painter's layout here in a little bit, but so you can actually see. But when you compare an SDL 39 next to, say, like a GP 38-2, it really is about the same size, but you've got 6 axles. And to see it on video is one thing, but to see it in person, it really blows your mind just how small these locomotives. And then we're talking about those legendary features. Just the fact that we've been able to put so much into such a small package is pretty incredible. So let's go live. We've got Mark McAllister from Product Support. He is actually at Ed Painter's layout. You might have seen him earlier in the day when we unveiled the Kit Classics car. Mark is actually going to be showing the Milwaukee Road, the later Milwaukee Road version, and the Wisconsin Central version with ditch lights, so you guys can kind of see some of the features there. So let's go live to Mark at Ed Painters. Action.
Hi, thanks, Shane. For those that may have missed our earlier broadcast, we're here in beautiful Northwest Georgia live at our good friend Ed Painter's house. Ed, thanks for having us.
It's my pleasure to have you all here. Enjoy.
Thank you very much. We're going to take a look at our brand new museum quality EMD SDL 39 and some of the features. I think you're really going to like it. Let's look. So just like other locomotives that we've released, pressing F8 will begin the startup sequence. With this one being a museum quality, you'll see the gauge lights light up in the cab. It also has truck lights on both the left and the right, illuminated number boards front and back, traditional EMD steel bell sound, 3-chime horn. F0 activates your headlights. F5 will cycle through the classification lights, red, green, white, and then off. F6 will turn on the ditch lights. This locomotive has ditch lights on both front and rear, and they're programmed to flash fast like the Wisconsin Central did. Going over and taking a look at the 586, those of you that are Wisconsin Central fans may also know that the Wisconsin Central locomotives came from the original Sioux Line locomotives and the Milwaukee Road. This being the 586, has the same startup sequence. Got F0 that activates the lights. You've got truck lights on the front, left and right of this locomotive, lighted number boards. You can also cycle through the classification lights on this one, just like you could on the Wisconsin Central locomotive. F7 activates the beacon on the top. 3-chime distinctive Leslie air horn for the Milwaukee Road. And F1 activates the tape-recorded bell that the Milwaukee Road used. All right, so these locomotives are great. They'll be available very soon. You can place your pre-order very soon. Let's take the 582 for a trip around the railroad. As the 582 starts, you'll hear the rail squeal and clank. That's a new feature on the ESU decoders. At slow speeds, you'll hear this. As the locomotive picks up speed and reaches mainline speed, then that sound goes away until you slow back down. Thanks for joining us from Northwest Georgia here at Ed Painter's Layout on the ScaleTrains.com Virtual Railfan Network. I'm Mark McAllister.
Hey, thanks, Mark. We really appreciate you and Ed sharing the features of the SDL-39 with us. Well, Shane, it's great to have another museum quality locomotive in our lineup.
It is. It's been a long time coming. It's been about 5 years now, but it's great to add this one, and we actually have another one in development after this, so more to come on the museum quality side. Well, we're going to wrap it up. We don't want to run too long here. We really appreciate everyone tuning in to learn more about our next museum quality locomotive. And of course, Drayton will be back here tomorrow at 1:30, and we have an incredible industry announcement that I think folks are going to be really excited about, and we'll be sharing that tomorrow. And really, one more time, I want to thank you, John, for having us as part of the show today. I want to thank the Virtual Railfan team, and we'll send it back to you, John. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
Hey, everybody, we're back, and it is getting close to closing time, but we're probably going to go a little over because we want to make sure we cover everybody. So just hang in there with us, and we appreciate that. And I'll tell you what, Scale Trains will be back with us again tomorrow for another. I don't know how many more of these I could take. These are incredible product release information. Wow, Shane, it's amazing. Nice job. Keep it up. And we'll see you when you come back tomorrow, just after lunch. So guys, now we're heading over to Microtrains and Eric Smith. And let me just show you their website. So head on over using the directory again on the landing page. Go to micro-trains.com. And we've got some pictures and a little quick PowerPoint with a sound overlay for you. But what we want, it must be late in the day. What we want to talk to you about is the fact that these guys are specialists in N and Z scale, narrow gauge. If you look at their their website and their products area, it really is getting late. We have N scale, Z scale, narrow gauge parts, tools and accessories, merchandise, and micro seasons, all kinds of stuff, guys. So check out that site, and they are today going to tell us a little bit about three new products: an N scale 095 series PS2 two-bay hopper, liquid sweet tank car series, and they've got a couple 3 images of their 123 N scale 60-foot high cube box car. So let's go check that out now that we've seen a little bit of the website. But wait a minute. Let's see. We've got, I've got phone numbers right at the top, delivery info, login, register, order history. See, so another tidbit, guys, talking geek for a minute. If you can register with any of these sites, you'll become like a member of their club, quote unquote. But that's not a bad thing, because you'll get to see things. You might learn of specials early, all that kind of stuff. So whenever you see that, Microtrains does a nice job at that. You're going to learn about new product before other people probably. You'll get reminded of that stuff quicker than others. So as you look down through all their product line, they've got a lot of nice things. They've got links to any downloads for videos, etc. So check out that website. And now let's go to this PowerPoint that we have prepared for you. Take it away.
Hello. Thank you so very much for the opportunity to exhibit Railroad Hobby Show's 54th annual event. This year, of course, being online, a virtual show. This is Eric Smith with Microtrains Line Company, located in Southern Oregon. And boy, needless to say, this past year of 2020 was crazy in so many ways for all of us. For Microtrains, it began with the COVID pandemic that blew up almost 1 year ago in late March. And obviously, we were by no means alone with this horrible situation. For us, Microtrains, the next event was this past September 8th, when our area in Southern Oregon experienced what is referred to as the Alameda wildfire. It started just south of Talent, Oregon, and raced northward due to extremely high winds that day, burning to the ground huge swaths of residential neighborhoods and commercial properties. In all, approximately 3,100 homes and businesses were burned to the ground. And while the fire came within 150 yards of our building, Microtrains was spared. We lost all services for over a week, as the National Guard wouldn't let residents return to the properties until the fires were completely out and the area was deemed to be okay and safe to access. We did have 5 employees lose their homes and all of their personal belongings to the wildfire. I'm pleased to share that due to a Seattle area inscaler and friend of Microtrains who set up a GoFundMe account, enough monies were raised to offer nearly $9,500 to each of our 5 folks. Much of these donations came from both consumers and our industry counterparts, and I'm pleased to share that 3 of our 5 employees have already established permanent replacement housing. If any of you participated in this GoFundMe account effort, please accept our heartfelt gratitude for your generosity. All of the above is to explain why we have experienced a number of product release delays. However, we are beginning to catch up, and I'm hopeful that by mid-year, we'll be back up to full capacity. So, moving forward, what's new with Microtrains as the new year 2021 gets underway? I have 3 specific items to share with you. Number 1 is our N-scale, all-new 123,000 series 60-foot rib-side high-cube boxcar with double-plug doors. Our first TTX 3-pack release occurred this past November, and there are a few images of this all-new freight car of ours to share with you. Features of this new car include fine mold details, micro-fine print work, separate end ladders, brake and rod detail, etched metal brake platforms and painted underframes, correct ride height above the rail, and of course body mount magnetic couplers, and 36-inch factory installed metal wheel sets. Our second release of this all-new freight car will be a 3-pack in February. A Canadian National 3-pack will follow later in the spring. And we've already begun taking pre-orders for our Union Pacific release, which should happen this coming summer. Number 2, in scale, our 095 series PS2 2-bay covered hopper. As we say here, we've already begun cutting steel as we're actively working on the tooling as we speak. Our first release is targeted for late 2021. Features of this new model of the covered hopper include separate roof hatches, fine scale cord through walkway, 33-inch metal wheel sets factory installed, proper ride height above the rail, and body mount magnetic couplers. Plans include producing B&O, C&W, Milwaukee Road, GN, CG, Sioux, and UP, to name just a few of the road names that we'll be producing once this car is ready. And then thirdly, our next all-new N-scale series, which we've deemed quote-unquote sweet liquid tank car series. This series begins February 1st and includes 12 special food-grade tank cars utilizing our 39-foot single-dome tank car that were used to transport a variety of sweet concentrates from distribution centers to factories all over the United States. Commodities these tank cars transported include corn syrup, honey, molasses, and cane syrup. And this series includes the following road names: Beehive, Hubinger, Flow Sweet, Miranda Sugar, Domino Sugar, Molasses Gilbert,
1 minute.
Imperial Sugar, Sweet Pure Molasses, Union Starch, Sugar Refining Company, Mangles King Syrup, and Penican Ford. So there you have it. Those are the 3 new items that we wanted to share with the viewers here during this virtual train show. And we'd like to say in conclusion to say thanks very much for the opportunity to make this presentation. And I hope that all of you enjoy every aspect of this virtual train show. And please know all of us at Microtrains, we appreciate your interest so very much of our model trains. And we look forward to the 55th Railroad Hobby Show face-to-face in January of 2022. Thank you again.
Hey, everybody, we're back. And thank you for that, Eric and Microtrains. Next, let's take a quick peek over at, and it's funny how we all have, remember we said I have the glue man. Now let's go visit the paint man. And when I talk to my guys at the train show, they know what we're talking about. So it's pretty funny. But we're actually going to go see Minuteman scale models, Sean Cavaretta. And guys, what's important here, Sean, is right front and center on his website. So if you head over to the directory, then head down to Minuteman Scale Models, and then click the first thing you see. Oh, look, he's got a search page, which is cool for looking for stuff. He's got a shopping cart built in as well. He's got a hamburger in the upper left-hand corner, so you can see the menu from there and see all that kind of stuff. But look at this Friday through Sunday. So yesterday, today, tomorrow, 15% off your entire order because of the virtual train show. So at checkout, use the coupon code. You see it right there, Amherst 2021. Thanks, Sean. I appreciate that. So go look, and guys, you know he's got a line of scale coat paint 1, scale coat 2, and then 1 is what you're using them on. I think that's more metal and wood, and I think 2 is plastic. And let me just check. Yeah, and they come in 1 and 2 ounce bottles, 6 ounce spray cans. Ooh, spray cans. You know, I don't own an actual airbrush. I actually spray everything with right out of Krylon with a lot of my models because I'm going to weather the heck out of them anyway. But interesting stuff. But Sean actually has the spray cans of scale coat, guys. Unbelievably cool. So check that out as well. All right, where are we going next? Let's go to Banta Models. Bill Banta, guys. So I'm going to head down to Banta Models. I'm going to go to bantamodelworks.com, and we're looking at Bill's layout of his website. Another good looking website, guys. And look at, I love the links are different ties of the track. Nice touch, Bill. So it'll allow us to see what's going on. Okay. And what Bill does, guys, is he takes existing stuff and he actually allows for kits that, like the Bachmann 262 trench loco that just came out. I got a trench loco because I do have an ON30 layout I'd like to start. But if you get some of these cab details, you could put your own cab on this. And look at some of these buildings that Bill has too. Really nicely detailed buildings. HO, O scale, lots of things. As you scroll down, you can see a lot of great things there. So Bill, I appreciate you being a part of this. And I could go home on his website. It'll take me, and he's got all kinds of stuff, guys. So check all of that out. Excuse me. So now, let's go to something that I found incredibly interesting. And let's start out by checking their website. And guys, the name of this company is Roomettes. So it's Room, E-T-T-E-S. A long time ago, they were known as the Electric Wallpaper Company. But the first time I saw this, I said, what? I just never thought of something so cool. So I'm going to head down to the directory. I'm going down to Roomettes. And I'm heading over, and Barry Silverthorne, guys, when I click on his website, the first thing you see is this really cool picture. Okay. And so what Barry does is building interiors, guys, and easy to building interiors. But as we scroll through some of the pictures on the website, you go, whoa. Interiors of libraries, of a fire department, of an ambulance facility, auto parts places. And the beauty of all of this, it's compatible with other lighting systems, and he sells it as a kit with the room plus the lighting and everything you need to have that room completely done. So this is really cool. And there is a video. So let's go to that video and let's see what's going on.
Welcome to Lighting Model Railroad Structures with Roomettes for the virtual Railroad Hobby Show. It's a bit disappointing that we can't be together in Springfield this year for the show, but hopefully through technology we can all come together and learn a few things and find out some things about some new products. I'm going to talk a little bit about Roomettes, which is a product that I've designed and manufacture, but I'll also give you some lighting tips along the way so you can take what you can use and leave behind what you can't use. First of all, what are Roomettes? Roomettes are a product that create the illusion of 3D in your model railroad structures. They're laser cut cardstock with printed graphics. They have a precise fit for the structure they're intended to go into. They fold together with glued tabs and assemble with just a few tools. They also include LEDs that are compatible with Woodland Scenic's Just Plug system. And some of the kits include details, and signs. So where did the idea for Roomettes come from? Well, several years ago, I was producing segments for Trainmasters TV, and we did a series called Start Small, Think Big, which was building a layout using the principles of TOMA, the one module approach. And one of the things we did on the layout was we included some lighting from Woodland Scenics. And what I found was, even though all the lights were on in the room, the lights on the layout really made the scenes pop. And I started to think about how I could use lighting on my own layout. I model a cloudy day, and so the lighting is very dim, very gray. And so I thought if I could include lighting in the structures, then I could really make things pop in that kind of dull, cloudy day scenario. So I started thinking about quickly how I could populate buildings on my layout without having to spend a lot of time doing interior details, and that's when the idea of Roomettes came by. So the system is totally compatible with Woodland Scenics Just Plug. Why Just Plug? Well, one of the reasons is that it's really easy to get quick results. So here's a diagram of the Just Plug system. For those who've never used it or seen it before, it's based on the hub, which is the component with the red stripe on it. So the hub has an input for power, which you can see is powered generally by a wall wart, or it can be powered from your power supply, like an old power pack that delivers 12 to 24 volts. There are 4 outputs on the hub, and each one of those can be dialed from 0 to 100%, so you can dim all the lights. And there are a lot of accessories you can add to it. For example, there's an auxiliary switch that allows you to turn the hub on and off. There's an expansion hub, which is the hub with the blue stripe, which allows you to plug several red stripe hubs into it. And then there's the hub with the yellow stripe, which is a sequencing hub. And the difference between the sequencing hub and the regular hub is that it has a control that allows you to have the LEDs sequence randomly, and you can change the rate that they cycle. So you can have lights switching on and off in a building as if people are moving from room to room. And the small device with the green stripe is a port sharing device. And what that allows you to do is to split the output of one hub into 4. So the beauty of the system is that it's expandable and very modular, so it's very easy to grow it. And you don't need to have any soldering experience or any experience with electronics. You don't have to do any calculations as far as voltage. It's all done for you. It's plug and play. And here's an example of a street that's lit up with Just Plug lights in the buildings and some street lights, and they even have vehicles that have headlights and taillights. So what about lighting buildings? Well, Woodland Scenics has a product for that. It's light diffusing window film, which is just a translucent film that goes on the inside of the structure. It's a fast way to get some light into a building, but I don't think it really does the job of adding 3D detail to the building. Basically, it just diffuses the light. And to me, it kind of looks like a Thomas Kincaid painting where all the buildings are glowing mysteriously. It's kind of an eerie feeling, but again, it doesn't really give you that 3D effect. So here are some examples of Roomettes installed in some popular buildings. Here's a Roomette as it comes out of the package. They're printed on cardstock. All the cutting is done for you by a laser, so there's no tedious cutting to do. All you need to do is to remove the tabs that hold it in the sheet. And sometimes you can almost do that by hand. So once it's out of the sheet, it's simply a matter of folding along the dotted lines to create a box. So what you want to do is bend a little bit past 90 degrees, but not too much, because you don't want to actually break the walls apart from each other. And then it's just a matter of adding a little bit of glue. And one of the glues that I find really works well is something called Gem Tack. Gem Tack is a very sticky glue that jewelry hobbyists use to add gems to their jewelry. It's very strong, but it's still a little bit flexible. It's got a really nice tackiness to it. So even while it's drying, the tackiness will hold things in place. So you don't have to worry about things slipping from where you put them. So I just put a little bit of glue on, and you can spread it around with your fingers. Some people will use a brush, and it doesn't take a lot. You really don't want to soak the cardboard. Once your glue is on, it's just simply a matter of folding the tabs underneath and just holding them until the stickiness takes hold. And you can even take something like a popsicle stick or the back of a set of tweezers is what I'm using here, just to burnish it down, and that'll hold it until it dries. And then you want to do the same thing with the top and bring the top in. Now once you've created a box for your room, you want to bend any kind of tabs that are on the front of the box up. And these tabs will be what fastens the box to the wall. And it even tells you on the front, glue to the wall. Pretty simple. Once that's done, you want to take your knife and just cut out the ceiling, which is where your LED will go. And we'll get to the LED in a minute. One thing I'd like to talk about is windows. Gem-Tack is really good for fastening acetate windows or styrene windows into your buildings. One of the nice things about putting a roomette in your building is if you've ever had buildings where the glass has fallen out after a couple of years because the glue dried out, once the roomette is in there, it actually pins the glass to the wall, and that glass will never fall out of your buildings. So now it's time to put the LED in the building. The LEDs are included with the kit, as well as the wire and the plug. And as I mentioned, they're compatible with Woodland Scenics. I like to tape them in. You can also use hot glue, but I find tape is easier. One thing I like to use is tuck tape, which is a tape that they use to put insulation on buildings. It's designed to last a long time, and after 36 hours, it's pretty much cured and it's not coming off of your roomette. So I just cut a small piece like that. And what I'll do is just tape it on. Now one of the things you can do is you can add hot glue to the LED if you're worried that it might shift, you know, in case the tape comes off, whatever. But you can do both. You can tape them and use hot glue to hold them in place. You can add details at this point if you want to add some figures. The bedrooms, a lot of them come with headboards, so if you take a piece of styrofoam and carve a shape for a bed, just a rectangle, you can make a bed pretty quick, throw some paint on it, and from outside it just gives a little more 3D detail and makes things really pop. And here's an example of roomettes in a building. There's 8 rooms. This is the DPM townhouses, the townhouse flats. And you can see how everything's taped in together, and I've even wired them into a trunk at the bottom so they all go through the hole in the layout as one wire. Now one of the things I recommend that people do is to cut the barbs off of the plug. The plugs that come with the LEDs are really designed to withstand a lot of vibration, maybe in automobile use or in planes. For our application, we really don't need them to be plugged in that permanently. And I find when you're trying to test things or move things around, you end up having to jiggle that plug a lot just to get it out. So if you cut those barbs off, the plug will go in nice, it'll still stay in, but it'll be really easy to pull out. And here are some more examples of finished models with roomettes inside. Now for people who want to get started with roomettes and with the Just Plug system, I have project packages on my website that include the roomette, the building, the necessary Just Plug components to make everything light up, and a tube of Gem-Tack for gluing everything together. So I can give you a sneak peek of some of the projects that I'm working on right now. These will be coming up probably in late February this year. One of them is the Walthers Row House and the Walthers Import Motors. Also, I'm starting work on the Merchants Row series, so I'll probably have 3 different Merchants Rows coming in the spring. As well, I'll show you something that I've never done before that's new, and that is boxcar interiors. Now I've done the artwork for these, but this one doesn't show it. But there's a boxcar interior that takes about 2 minutes to put together, and instantly you've got 3 dimensions to your boxcars. These will be made for Atlas 60-foot boxcars, and an old favorite, the Athearn 50-foot rail boxcar. Of course, the boxcar kits don't light up. Now, if you're interested in lighting structures, I have a Facebook page. It's called Model Railroad Interiors and Lighting. Now, it's not all Roomettes projects there. There's lots of inspiration, lots of people doing lots of different things, so check it out, join, and contribute. Thanks for taking the time to watch. Go to my website, roometteslighting.com, if you want to see the kits, and hopefully we'll see you in 2022 in Springfield.
Hey, everybody, we're back. And, a lot of the things I do, I relate to movies. And after seeing that Roomettes video, if you think of The Gladiator with Russell Crowe when he was first in the ring, and he screamed out to the audience, "Did that not entertain you?" And boy, that video just did. That was incredible. And some of those scenes of the city lit up and the whole city, I just kills me that some of the product is out there today that we have available to us. And isn't it amazing that you could just, it's like one-stop shopping. I want to light up these 5 rooms. Here's a kit. Wow. So I was blown away. Barry, nicely done. So guys, next we're moving on to Azatrax and John Parsons. And the first time I heard of this company, I'm an old geezer, you have to remember. I remember GE making Azatrax, and that was the first independently controlled train systems way before DCC. Guys, I'm talking mid 70s, when I was when I was like in 3 or 4 years old. But when I further looked into Azatrax and John, I realized he's a specialist in circuits and signals. He's got a great tagline. And his tagline is, and you give me a second just to find it. If something can be activated with a button, it can be automated with a train detector. How cool is that? So instead of pressing a button, you can make it automatic. So John, I love that tagline. It's really cool. John is a coach, service sponsor, guys. And let's go look at this video he has. But hold on. That was for my cue. Hold on, guys. Quickly, let's go to azatrax.com and just see how nicely organized this website is. He's got a search mechanism. He's got all his menu items down the left side, everything that's going on, easy to use circuits. Look through these circuits. There's some circuits here I never really thought about. But for exhibit layout, so it'll stop things, move them back the other direction, reverse reverse looping, all kinds of stuff. Really cool. So check all of that out. He's got his train schedule up there, and then he's got his kind of like an index down at the bottom, like we've seen in other websites that are well organized. And you could get to see all of these things. So with that, let's roll. Finally, we could roll to the little video that we have. So go ahead and roll the videotape.
Azatrax is a maker of train detection circuits and layout automation electronics. If you've attended the Amherst Railroad Hobby Show the past couple of years, you may have seen our demonstration layout that shows some of our products in action. We have circuits for grade crossings with movable gate arms or with simple flashing lights. Check out the brake lights on the car. The Azatrax TS2 block signaling circuit controls trackside block signals on a single two-way track. You can connect one standalone circuit to a pair of signals at one location, or you can easily connect any number of TS2 circuits in a chain, and you will have coordinated signals all the way down the line. All of this action is triggered by infrared sensors. Infrared is a non-contact form of detection that works whether the room lights are on or off. No readjustments are needed when the lights are turned down for night operations. And you do not have to cut rail gaps or modify your rolling stock. The circuit boards have LED indicators to show you when the sensors are working, which is a real plus for installation and troubleshooting. At last year's Amherst show, we introduced the Azatrax TS3 circuit. It controls trackside signals at a single turnout. New for this year is our TS5. The TS5 controls signals for a dual track main line. The signals can be intermediate signals, either single head or dual head. The signals can also protect a control point where you have turnouts. The control point can have a single crossover, double crossovers, or scissors crossovers. A turnout to a branch line or passing siding can also be part of the control point. TS5 circuits can be linked to other TS5 circuits, and you can also link to TS3 and TS2 signal control circuits. Create a complete working signal system for your railroad, one location at a time. For more information, see our website, azatrax.com. Thanks for watching.
Hey, everybody, we're back again. And let's go take a look at yet another of our little nicknames, right? So we have the glue guy, we have the circuit guy, we have this guy, we have that guy. Let's go take a look at the passenger car guy. And we're talking John Green, guys, and Bethlehem Car Works. So I'm going to head on over to their website first at BethlehemCarWorks.com, and we could see what's happening here. And we've got, what do we call it? Up at the right, those three little lines, it kind of gives it away. But what's the nickname for that, guys? Ferris Bueller's Days Off. Anyone? 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 That's called a hamburger. And when we click on that, it takes us to the menu. And look how it slides the menu out, and we can see what's happening. So as we scroll down a little bit, what we're looking at here, guys, is products that you could build, supplement, etc., passenger cars. When you talk to John, but does he know passenger cars? Let me tell you, he does. So if I go to his menu, if I look at products and then hit that plus sign a little bit to the right, we could see that there's branch line, H.O. Craftsman kits, kit bits, Sparrow's Point product line, all kinds of miscellaneous stuff. There's contact information. There's about, there's ordering information. So you could see all of these things. Guys, if you need to know something about passenger cars, this is the person you talk to. So check it out. He's got some new items right on the front page. And he's got an up arrow at the bottom that just takes you back to the top so you can quickly get to the menu. Those little widgets, as they call it in the geek world, are really handy to use to get you moving around the site. And he'll take PayPal orders, etc. So keep that in mind and check it out and take a look at everything he's doing. He's doing a lot of really cool stuff. And he's been coming to the show forever. So that means he's around, he's established, he's got great products. You look at the new items, or these new trucks, and and you slide this over, and you can see the sides are mounted on a branch line body coach for a B&M coach, a little bit more detailed, I'm sure, and all kinds of stuff like that, guys. So check out that site, and you'll see exactly what's happening there. Okay. And he's got 3D printed parts, white metal castings, all kinds of stuff going on. So depending on the part, depending on what you need, he's got the right thing for you. When it comes to passenger cars, this is our go-to guy. So John, thank you for being a part of this, and we'll talk to you soon. So guys, with that, that actually wraps up the show for today. But hold on, I've got a couple things to say. Tomorrow we start at 10 a.m. because remember, we're mimicking the show hours. So we're going to 10 to 5 tomorrow. I have a little bit of a shout out. There's some of our younger fans out there, guys. So a little shout out to Lorenzo, Xander, and James. Thank you for that, Roland. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. And listen, this is not the last time we're doing this. Yeah, we're doing it tomorrow. But I mean, after tomorrow, we're going to be doing more of these. So hang in there. And we'll see everybody in the morning. And guys, you know what time it is. Hold on one second. Ah, and it's not Miller time, guys. It's Diet Pepsi time, but you get it with the sound. So take care. We'll see you guys all tomorrow at 10 a.m. And sign on early because we'll have something rolling a little bit before. Take care, everybody.